We're live, back with Grove Sessions again. Hey, listener, good to see you all out there today. My name is Rick Coughlin, CEO and co-founder of Grove Studios. I'm here with Max Price, as always.
What's up?
Social media director and head of social media and marketing. I'm getting all the titles wrong today. I'm super excited about this again today. I get to be excited all week because there's exciting stuff going on, amazing stuff going on. I'm here with Rod Wallace. Yeah. He's educational programs coordinator for Grove Studios and the founder of Project Plugin. And I'm also here with Maia Evans, community engagement director and e-commerce manager at Leon Speakers. And what we're here to do is talk about this collaboration that Grove Studios has with Leon Speakers that has been led by the wonderful talents sitting in front of me right here. And we're going to talk about the Amplify Fellowship. If you're interested in learning about the Amplify Fellowship, it's amplify-fellowship.com. We'll be posting links to that during this short chat today. And we're going to talk about what the Amplify Fellowship is, what it means to Rod and Maia and to Leon Speakers and Grove Studios, and more importantly, the people that it seeks to serve and lift up their music, their voices, and their careers. And I want to let's just drop right into that. Sure. Let's talk a little bit about where this came from and what was the start of this Amplify Fellowship, because now it has a name and it's out there. But it started with the seed of an idea.
Absolutely.
Of course. Thanks, Rick. So the Amplify Fellowship kind of came out of the idea that we need to be able to amplify Black voices in Washtenaw County and in Michigan in general, right? So it is Leon Speakers who literally makes speakers within the United States, does some manufacturing. We've been around for about 25 years. And we want to get more local, right? And so that was sort of the kind of fuel to the fire for reaching out to Grove and sort of starting a partnership. I've had my eye on Grove for a while, and I kind of absolutely love the concept of bringing the equipment to the people, bringing the resources and the means to the people, and how exactly accessible it is. And so with how entrenched Grove is within the Ypsilanti, Ann Arbor community, especially Ypsilanti. And that is where we sort of wanted to focus and sort of lift up our efforts. Leon has done some efforts in Ann Arbor in the past, but we really feel like Ypsi is kind of coming into its own, and it's Ypsi's time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we reached out and started having conversations, and the fellowship is what came out of it, and I'm super excited for all the directions that we're going in. So,
yeah, me too. Can you go into a little bit deeper for anyone else out there that might not know about what Leon Speakers does and the scope of what you guys do over there?
Yeah, so we are primarily known from our YouTube series, Leon Loft. So we've had about 40 artists there, but what we have been doing for about the last 25 years is that we do high-end and custom audio equipment, and kind of our big push is integrating design with technology and making sure that it sounds good, but it looks good too. And like, if you want it just completely hidden, like we have like in-ceiling speakers and in-wall speakers.
That's
and stuff
awesome.
like that. Or if you want like a sound sculpture with a Sonos amp in it, that we also have stuff like that. So we've done some really custom projects in the past, and we love working with architects and interior designers just to integrate audio in that way. The reason why you may not have heard of us is that we sell almost exclusively through dealers across the United States and internationally. So basically you have to know somebody, but we are actually starting to we have a partnership with Magnolia now. So you should be able to see some Leon Speakers in like Best Buy, Magnolia showcase.
Wow. That's
soon.
Awesome. Yeah, and that's so cool. That's like one of the reasons why Leon Speakers and Grove Studios work so well with a partnership together is, I mean, we love that same type of thing of innovation and sound. You know what I mean? And that is something that I really appreciate about your company. I mean, we came over there to the Leon Loft area, and I got to see some of the stuff you guys are working on, and it really blew me away to see like the engineers in there just designing like custom stuff, you know?
And what really, I'll just say this, what really struck me about Leon Speakers is that I kind of expected when we first went there to see this more. I mean, it's a very clean factory, right? It's very, very neat and orderly, but I sort of expected to see this more sort of sterile kind of like, we make speakers and like this sort of electronic driven environment. And what I found was this more artistic driven environment. Everything from like the decor right down to the people that work there. I mean, how many musicians do we know that actually work at Leon Speakers?
Yeah,
you know,
shout out DJ Nitro.
Yeah, and
there.
the founder himself, right? You know, he's an artist and a musician, and so like that runs through the veins of the company. You guys are doing huge stuff, right? Like you're going to be producing products for, you know, and they're going to be showing up in big stores, and you guys are known across the world, which is incredible. So, but the core values that you guys have really fit with our core values, and that's it's an amazing thing. And so, really appreciate you guys, you know, reaching out to us, and thanks for the kind words about Grove Studios, and thank you for keeping an eye on us.
Yeah.
That's cool. We do appreciate that.
Yeah,
So-
we're super excited to be working with a company like Leon. You know, it's really a dream of ours, and you know, even just beyond just the innovation and things sounding good and things looking good, you know, the community values of just wanting to help the community and you know, wanting to because we love this community. You know, the Ann Arbor Ypsi community is, you know, the place that we've all chosen to be and to live, and because we love it here, you know, and we just want to give back to that community that has helped form really who we are and, you know, our motivations and messages, you know?
Yeah, and I will say on that note, like when I first walked into the Leon office, I was like blown away of how much it reminded me of like the Henry Ford Museum. And like just how obsessed we are with the evolution of technology and the way that people use technology. And I think like that's one of the only things like as an American right now, like I can only be proud of our of our innovative spirit.
Yeah.
And not proud of a lot of else, but we'll work on it. And
we're working on it.
And that's like, we want to invest in how people are going to use technology in the future and making things more accessible. And the route that Grove is going kind of with these pods, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I think is sort of the way of the future.
Absolutely.
And so we want to be here for you as partners and continue to grow that as well.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we appreciate that. I mean, that's like the shipping container thing. I mean, that's exactly how we feel about it, you know, and we're excited to be able to partner with Leon to create ideas for that, you know. Right. So it's just super exciting all around. And you know, one of the things we're excited to announce is we're going to be holding Grove Sessions live at Leon Loft. So that's going to be coming up here soon, and we're going to be bringing in some huge artists in there to do, you know, live streaming experiences and possibly, you know, small socially distanced in person. You know, we haven't gotten quite that far yet, but we will be planning events there soon. So look out for that. That's super exciting.
Definitely.
Yeah, and they just outfitted the entire place with like top of the line live streaming cameras and, you know, lighting and sound systems. So we went over there and checked it out. It's going to make people look good. Yeah, it's gonna be really incredible. And you know, the broadcast studio as well. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so October 1st, which is this Thursday coming up, it's a little scary. We are launching our broadcast studio. So what is kind of happening is what we're calling the broadcast studio is the technology and the people behind it, right? But we're also putting together a channel called Leon Live for distributing some of our content. And awesome stuff like this can be distributed like through that channel, right? And especially like we have such a unique perspective, and we feel like, especially in the AV industry, there is so much to be said, and like just a little bit of culture that needs to be put back in there. So that's kind of what we're excited to kind of share our brand visibility, right? And kind of share like what we are all about and what we can do for the community. And kind of on the same note, like our product line is expanding as well. And one of the things I was talking with Rick about the other day is that we are trying to figure out how to make our technology a little bit more accessible. And I think by getting creative, by having maybe some investment in technology in communal spaces and kind of like equipping people to like make their best art and have the best resources is going to be really where it's at, right? So like there may not be a Leon in like every single home, but I'm hoping that like there's a Grove in every city that has Leon equipment in it.
Yeah.
Very
And
cool.
it'll be very exciting because you guys make quality stuff and you know, and uniquely, like, not just sort of the black boxes that we're kind of used to looking at when it comes to speakers, right?
Yeah.
Some interesting materials. I've seen you guys use like recycled and repurposed materials and
Right.
stuff like that. We're all about repurposing things, which is where the container design comes from. And you know, given that we have those kinds of alignments, and then you know, going into our core values, it's like it just seemed like a no-brainer for us to collaborate with you.
Yeah.
And when you approached us, you know, obviously we were excited for that opportunity to work with you guys. And then, you know, having known Rod for a number of years, I mean, we actually met through Grove.
Yep. Absolutely.
He was a very early customer.
Right.
Back when we first started, we had some of our rooms were
Right.
rental by month.
Right.
And it turned out that doesn't really work that well because
Right.
it becomes another overhead cost for artists. And Rod figured that out pretty quickly too. It was like, yeah, it was good for a while, but
Yeah.
doesn't really work. So we eventually shifted to full hourly. But that's how Rod and I met here,
Yeah.
actually.
Right.
And he puts up with me on a daily basis.
Yeah, Rod, talk a little bit about your role at Grove and your role in the Amplify Fellowship.
So as far as Grove goes, I came back to Ypsi in 2018. I was an EMU grad about 2 decades ago now. When I came back to work at Eastern, myself and a partner of mine, Mike Mosley from Double Negative People, at that time we were looking for a place to be able to continue to work on music. And he actually found Grove. I saw Grove a couple of times and saw like the artwork for the shipping containers.
Yeah,
like, oh,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
that's
I know.
cool.
Yeah,
That-
I saw that stuff online. I was like, man,
Right.
what is this new thing popping up? This is pretty cool.
But I had a pretty good setup at home. I still do.
Yeah.
You know, in terms
Oh,
of
yeah. Me
mixing.
too, yeah.
Instead of recording, I mean, in terms of recording stuff. But it's just
Yeah,
so
I seen that
convenient.
studio over there. It's a dope studio you got.
Thank you. it could use a lot more stuff, but it does what
Can't we all?
does what I needed to do. And just considering the fact that this is across the street from work. So I started to come through. We were doing a monthly thing, and it was like, you know, we're not really spending enough time just because we all have jobs. We all have different things that we're doing. So when we shifted, they shifted over to an hourly role. And then I also shared with Rick, we had kind of developed a relationship through the time that we had spent about how important it is for producers and engineers like myself, how we should just have the ability to come in and just plug in. Because more so for us, especially looking through the eyes of the college student that's living up in the towers here, they just need a place to be able to plug in and bang out, do what they got to do, and leave.
Absolutely.
And so there was a shift there, and that shift was relatively successful.
Well, yeah, I would say you're alerting me because you know I'm a band guy, right?
Yeah, right.
Like I've been playing guitar and playing
Right.
in bands for 25 years. I didn't have the background of
Right.
being a laptop producer. I don't use
Right.
the same equipment. So I knew that it could exist, but you put the finer points on it, and I think
Yeah.
it made a ton of sense. So we did it.
You put an interface, a good interface,
Yep.
a good pair of monitors, an extra monitor screen or whatever,
Some great
and
microphones.
some
Yeah.
good mics, and you're good
Yeah.
to go. So started there, started mixing and mastering work here. Did a couple of Dirty Old Man projects here now.
Yeah.
Doing freelance mastering. We've built a network of producers and engineers that kind of filter in and out of here. Artists who are looking for a place that is easily accessible, not a lot of BS.
Yeah.
Just a place where you can come and
Can actually
and
afford to get in and
ability
do some music.
The ability to book very easy. It's
Yeah.
just, for me, it's the perfect weapon for a person like me who carries their entire musical capabilities within a laptop.
Yeah.
So, and then in the same token, I started studying for my PhD at Eastern,
Oh,
and
wow.
I study urban education. And because of my history of being an engineer and a teacher who infused hip hop into his classroom at every juncture, I chose through urban education to study how music production and music technology can be used to engage students in deeper educational activities, because it answers so many questions for kids who grew up like me. And I started to do more and more research about it, especially involving more older producers. And everyone you talk to about the program, they would always say, well, I wish that we had that where I was.
No doubt.
And we actually had developed one in 2014 at River Rouge High School. That was really successful. So we had like 120 kids making beats every day in a lab. It was like the most perfect thing.
Wow.
Love it.
If I wasn't the assistant principal, I would have been there all day.
That's right.
But
You had other things to do.
yeah, right. I did. So I saw it work. I saw what it did for kids. I came here and I started working on my PhD with the interest of lending credibility to it as a practice. So studying hip hop pedagogy, studying, culturally relevant pedagogy as well.
Please.
So
More of that.
doing all that. So it's being the educational programs coordinator here, we've worked on some workshops and things of that nature here, as well as some partnerships between Grove and the community, whether it be My Brother's Keeper, whether it be Educate Youth, whether it be Eastern itself. We've worked on those things. So when this opportunity came about and there was an interest in amplifying Black voices, I put together a proposal with the team, having some really fantastic recommendations. And one of the recommendations that I heard early on from Ashley involved the creation of a scholarship program. So we started to build this fellowship program in accordance with an internship program, as well as some engagement with community organizations and some things that could be done here at Grove in order to make it more community accessible. But the fellowship ended up being kind of the first point of emphasis for the whole thing. And we really have gotten to a point where we're offering 3 African-American artists or acts or artisans, as I call them, people who are doing skill-based music work like photography or content creation, giving them the ability to have 40 hours here, 40 hours of engineering or production support, paying those individuals separately between November 1st and May 1st, as well as access to the workshops that we create, as well as access to all of the artisans that are floating here. We essentially have a label here.
Yeah.
We don't call it that, but you have photography, you have content creation, you have nonprofit kind of floating around in the universe here. You have all these different things, and it's important that people who live around us who typically don't have access to those type of resources have that access. And I think that's what this fellowship is all about.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we're super excited to offer this to artists, and also, we're going to be working on educating these artists, in marketing and business, and, also taking this partnership and using it to put together some workshops that we can offer to the community at large, as well as the fellows involved.
Absolutely.
I'll just add too that, for from a, as you started talking about the education and the, culturally relevant education, right? Just and really, like, it touches my heart every time we talk about education, because some people don't know that I was
been in the trenches together.
I am a teacher.
Yes.
I try not to say I was, because once you are, you always are.
You always are.
But for me and Grove Studios, I always want that component of education to be a part of it, because that's what lifts people up.
Absolutely.
It doesn't have to be a formal education. It doesn't necessarily have to be I went to college, but
Right.
how can you educate yourself? What programs exist to learn more, to better yourself, or to go down the path of
Right.
being a successful musician, or engineer, or whatever the case is.
Absolutely.
How can we provide those opportunities as we grow the business? We want to provide those opportunities
I
in the
think-
communities that we're in.
And exactly. I think that's what endears you to communities that you're joining in as a stranger. So the question
Right.
becomes, what value do you bring to the table?
Right.
So,
And knowing your own value.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And
Yeah.
I think that, again, there are a number of problems that we have the ability to fix, or ability to attempt to fix.
Yeah.
And I think that music is an entry point for a lot of those things, because, again, according to my
Totally.
research, music is an entry point to understanding marketing, business, intellectual property, collaboration, critical thinking.
Absolutely.
All of those things.
Yeah.
Copyright
So-
law, trademark.
Absolutely.
I
It's
just,
important.
there's
It's-
so many skills
And
embedded.
Yeah.
that doesn't even speak to the technical value.
Right.
The fact that what I always say is, if you can run Pro Tools, you can run any design software that's out.
Right.
With the right amount of
Yeah.
practice, as well as if you follow the process of, do you ever think about how much we teach ourselves via YouTube? We go in and we look for one
Yeah.
specific thing to learn, and we pick up all of these other ancillary kind of skills and understandings
Yeah.
that we're able to apply and continue to build our craft
No doubt.
independently.
Yeah,
So-
and it's super important as artists not only to have that good business knowledge and sense, because the music industry is notoriously built on taking advantage of people, and that's really not going to stop anytime soon, I don't think. And, also it's important, like, as an artist, to realize that you might have to capitalize, or you will have to capitalize on as many revenue streams as you possibly can to
Yeah.
make a living as an artist. And it's not just like you're going to a job and getting your one paycheck and then that's
Yeah.
it. You got to understand, how do you get paid? And when you have more skills like producing, or you know how to run these types of programs, those are lanes to get paid in, while you're working on your craft, to be able
Absolutely.
to still stay in the music realm.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think if we've learned anything in the past 3 weeks, or at least we've known this, but the conversation has gotten louder because of the Joe Buddens and the Kanye Wests of the world. People like them or hate them, but the truth is, what they've talked about the last few weeks involves being able to maintain ownership of what you do. We've seen
Yeah.
so many instances of acts not being able to protect themselves from these kind of predatory acts, just because of the fact that they don't have the resources or the knowledge.
Yeah.
So I think that
And these labels aren't going to
fellowship-
give you the knowledge. They're
Right.
going to give you a packet of sheets of paper that has stuff that you don't understand on it, and they're
Right.
going to say, "Here, sign this, and we'll give you all the world."
or it may not even be about the legalese that's written there. It's just about the access and the resources. So I think that what we're doing is we're starting to kind of undo that ecosystem, especially here in town, where
Yeah.
I think our vision overall for Washtenaw County is that it becomes like a self-sufficient, musically driven
Absolutely.
place
Absolutely.
that doesn't necessarily have to play the major label game
Yeah.
in order to sustain itself in a very positive way. So
Yeah.
And can also attract industry eyes as well.
Right.
Like we've seen in Detroit. 10 years ago, there were not many eyes on the Detroit scene. Now, all the industry eyes are on the Detroit hip hop music scene, so that's what we want to cultivate in this area as well,
Right.
Yeah, and I would say that, like, we're not looking to be like a replacement for a label, right?
Right.
No,
Right.
yeah,
Well,
of
labels will
course.
still
No.
have their place, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Absolutely.
And I think what this pandemic has really made us sort of focus in and had a whole lot of self-reflection on our support systems. And I think that kind of dissecting our own support systems and,
Yes.
and seeing what the walls around it or the barriers to entry is,
Right.
I think is very important.
Absolutely.
And kind of providing and opening up our own support systems, as well as like seeing what's out there, what is the path
Right.
for an artist, like who do you need to know and how can you make those introductions?
Absolutely. I think as a teacher, one of the things that I used to always talk about, or as an administrator, I used to tell teachers that the way to get power in your classroom is to give away power. Mm-hmm. And I think that if we're essentially kind of decentralizing that power, and I think that that's a very positive thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the way the world is going in the future. I mean, social media and like music marketing is decentralized. I mean, you can just go the same route of trying to get on the mainstream publications like everyone else, but if you can grow your own fan base, you don't have to rely on anybody. You rely on yourself, and you can get your fans to pay you directly and engage with you directly through, a bunch of different sources. And these are the exact things that we want to help these artists achieve,
Yeah, I think they're real avenues. Like Maya said, we're not going to replace a record label. We're not interested in replacing. By replacing a record label, we become one ourselves. That's not necessarily what we want to do, but the idea of decentralizing and empowering artists.
It's not the business model right now.
Yeah,
right.
But empowering artists, to
be
have access and be able to do those things.
Absolutely.
Certainly, there are other recording studios that you could record at. This one is democratized in a way. It can be used by anyone. Right, we have people coming in that are just starting out and just learning, and we have consummate professionals working out of here, and those paths are intersecting too. Mm-hmm. There's I've seen some really cool collaborations just grow out of having a space, and a place for stuff to take place at. Right, there have been things like this in the past, and it's Spur Studios at one point. Way back in the day, there was another place over on River Street or Water Street. Was it like the 515 or the something gallery? There was a place in Ann Arbor over where the YMCA is now, kind of an industrial thing. But none of them ever, stayed sustainable. Mm-hmm. And so I saw like people getting displaced, and they were affordable too, right? Maybe they weren't the nicest places in the world, but they were affordable. People had some access, and we wanted to say, how can we make this accessible, and then what kinds of things can we layer on top? And so, being able to do this fellowship piece is just another beautiful thing that kind of layers into the grand mission, right?
Right. It connects you. I think it connects you to the community in a real authentic way. I love what the Neutral Zone does. They're really connected.
Yeah.
And I think that connection is more valuable than any music that could ever be made there.
For sure.
So,
yeah.
I'm just happy to be a part of it.
That's a great point. Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely. And we're not trying to like sign these artists and, and exploit them. We're trying to give them the skills necessary to build a career,
Yeah, and
because it's tough.
Some resources.
It's tough. There's so many different aspects of building a career as a musician.
Yeah.
It's very hard to learn all of it. It takes a long time, but what we have here at Grove and at Leon is a group of professionals, that all have different skills that, can come together and help these artists out. And we're also looking at bringing in outside professionals as well, for workshops and things like that in the future.
I think just like we're having the Grove sessions next month with Nelson Johnson, the workshop around producer infrastructure. Mm-hmm. That infrastructure word is really big to me because I think that's what makes the difference. Like people say, oh, I like this artist. Oh, I don't like this artist. That artist that you don't like, they have infrastructure around them that puts them, first of all, in your face.
Yeah, for sure.
That puts them in a position where they are accessible, and it turn the machine, the cogs of the machine are turning.
Yeah.
And I think that if we're able to assist them in starting to develop that infrastructure,
Yeah.
that's good enough for us.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think That's just kind of where we are. We do want them to participate in the scene. We do want them to support Grove Studios and Leon Speakers in their continuous growth through one of the obligations they have is to support the events that we do over the course of the fellowship. And that's through, we're all carrying speakers. We're all cording mics and stuff like that. So they can be a part of that as well.
Yeah.
But also as part of the fellowship, they're partnering with a community organization 3 hours a month to make sure that they're spending the time in the community and broadening their scope in terms of the services that are being offered to people around us. So that type of engagement is really, really super authentic. And I think one of the advantages that Grove has, again, with that community that community base is the fact that we have people who are coming in and banging out music all night, but we also have a Graham Rockwood coming in doing music therapy. I think we have, people who are coming in and potentially doing podcasts about their book club and stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I think that's kind of what is needed at this point. So
Yeah.
I'm glad that it's all connected. That's what I like.
Me too.
Yeah, because
Exciting.
it is so connected. I mean, the creative community, whether you're a podcaster, whether you're a painter, whether you're a photographer, whether you're a videographer or a musician or a producer or just someone that plays music, it has a very similar, the success can look very similarly and the tactics are very similar, across the board to achieving success,
Yeah. And if you're a musician at some point, you're going to need a photographer. You're going to need,
Exactly. Yeah.
going back to Rod's word, which I like, is the infrastructure. You know,
Gotta have
And
it.
shout out to Kyla Rose for doing the videography today with the podcast.
Absolutely.
She always, and she's the head of photography for Grove Studios. She always does so great. So we're so grateful to have her on the team.
Absolutely. I just can't say how excited I am to like get into, the fellowship once the participants are selected. So maybe we should talk a little bit about like the process. I mean, obviously they need to go to the website.
Amplify-fellowship.com.
Yep, and we'll post that link in the chat. In fact, we'll do that right now.
Absolutely.
So if you're listening and you want to check out the website and see what the criteria are, but we could talk a little bit about that here. But but there's an application on the website, and so that's the first step.
Yeah.
Apply.
Yep.
And when does the application deadline close? Do we have a date yet?
We do. The date is October 19th.
That's right.
But we want people to get in as soon as possible because there definitely is limited space.
Yeah. Only
and
3 people that
absolutely. And
that
the
are
app
getting
we already have a lot of people who have applied.
Yeah.
And we're not only looking for people who are the most talented musician or people who have the greatest infrastructure or the greatest social media or the most followers or anything like that. We're looking for people who want to make impactful music.
Yeah.
And people who are really interested in trying to push this thing as far as it can go.
Yeah.
So I think that's what we're looking for as a team. And we're really anxious to see what kind of things people write in. I mean, there's obviously we need to know your name, your email and all that stuff, but there's some questions in there about your philosophy, what you want to do with your music, what sets you apart, what does community mean to you? Those things are important. Those are the things that we're really, really looking for. So again, you apply, you're chosen, we build you, we build you some infrastructure, we get you here in the studio, we match you up with producers, and really try to help you cultivate a sound for yourself.
Yeah.
Our hope is that you walk away with a project once this is over, once these 7 months are over. And then you have something that you're able to walk away with and show to say, this is what I do. This is what I can perform. These are the relationships that I've built. I'm a Grove fellow. I'm an Amplify fellow. I'm an Amplify alumni or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's something that you can walk away with and it's of value. So
Absolutely.
And it's so powerful. I think what a great opportunity just to meet a new network of people too with the Leon piece too. I mean, the technical professionals that exist over there and the other industry professionals that are part of that organization.
Right.
Just all of that too, just all encompassing. Because we all know that it's important to know people and to network. That's, it's the whole, it's not what you know, it's who you know.
Right.
It's true.
And it's very true in a lot of
True.
ways. So,
Right.
it's a really powerful project, and I'm just honored to be a part of it. I'm honored that you guys really did the lion's share of the work to make this happen. And
Maya did all of it.
Maya did all of it.
Maya did all of it.
The website is really awesome.
Yeah, the website
shout
is
out to
incredible.
Maya.
It
She
really-
designed that, and she is, and I know she designs other websites. So if you are looking for a sweet website, check that out and hit her up because it's
Outsource.
really dope.
Yeah.
There you go.
And then also shout out to Ryan Pierce, who I work with, who did our amazing logo.
Yeah, the logo
Absolutely.
is sick.
And
Love the logo.
it
Absolutely.
was just an amazing experience to sit with him and go through the concepts and just like watch it.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
we were comparing fonts and we just like saw it click and we were like,
Yep.
yes.
Oh
Yep.
yeah, the process of I haven't seen like the broken down process of creating a logo like he did for us.
Yeah.
And it was great to just see it form and see it
Yeah.
become its own thing.
Yeah.
That fit perfectly with the message that we have.
And I do want to take a minute to shout out Noah Kaplan.
Yeah.
as well.
Shout out to
Yeah.
Noah.
This is, all built upon, his energy and the passion that he exhibited from the first time that we talked. We
Yeah.
kind of, became natural. I kind of clung to him because of his interest in hip hop and the history that he has with hip hop. So I'm very glad to have met him and very glad to be partnering with him because he's very passionate about making this work. So
Yeah,
And,
definitely
and
shout
Rick,
out.
of course. And,
Well, yeah.
and Eric.
and
Max.
everyone.
Everybody.
at Grove. But especially with Noah, I will say that like immediately thinking of you guys was spawned by back in June when we were very reminded that all of the Black Lives Matter thing is still an issue and just kind of seeing the fear of a pandemic exacerbate the issue, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And just like knowing that we need to combat the fear and we need
Sure.
to actually do something and we need to figure out like as an organization how to do something.
yeah,
He basically stopped everybody, stopped their work for like about half an hour and we just went outside in the parking lot and talked about it, right?
yeah.
Wow.
And I was really inspired by that because he was like, we're going to raise all this money. We're going to donate to this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
We're going to like impact social change locally and provide funds to like the people doing awesome social justice work out there, right?
Yeah.
And that's where kind of the thought between Noah and I was kind of brewing on how to provide value with the resources we already have. Yes, we can fundraise and we can give it all away, but there are ways to start connecting our community. And
Absolutely.
like there are ways that we can just like start sharing our own resources and our own support systems so that we can amplify the voices of others. So
Absolutely. I think a lot of people made statements in June, made statements and put it on their social media and put it on put it as the header on their web page and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it's another thing to kind of, one of the things that I said, if I can remember, I never remember the things that I write. Don't be afraid to continue speaking that way when the pendulum swings back
Right.
and it's not in the headlines as much. I mean, obviously we're back in a situation, I guess from a headline perspective, we're back in a situation where this discussion is back at the forefront. But, businesses can sometimes be afraid to continue to speak that truth. And
Yeah.
I think being willing and interested to put essentially your money where your mouth is something that attracted me to really spend a lot of time towards detail and what that support could look like. So
Yeah, money where your mouth is, and time
energy.
Yeah.
and energy where your mouth is, and
hiring practices where your mouth is.
Absolutely.
all of those things, right?
Terms of
Like real
space.
actionable things, because
saying something, that's raising awareness.
Yeah.
But we really wanted to use all of our resources
Yeah.
to make a difference, and this is
Right.
what we came up with for
Yeah.
that. And it's the first thing. It's not just a one-time kind of thing. It's something that we are looking to grow and expand with Grove as we grow and expand to our goal of 10,000 studios across the world.
Yeah.
That's bringing these ideas to other communities too, and I can't think of a more perfect place to start with Washtenaw County and Ypsi and Ann Arbor and just some of the surrounding communities, because we live in a very diverse county, and like we should be doing these things. These are all our neighbors here.
Right.
I've been here for 25 years. I'm not a native to Ypsi, but I've been here long enough. I know enough people. I know a lot of people, but I don't know everyone. and I want to reach out to more people. I want,
Right.
you know what I mean? I want to be a partner in the community too. And this is just such an amazing opportunity to work on those things.
I think that's why the engagement with community organizations are so important. I mean, obviously, again, we've been engaged with My Brother's Keeper. We did the Formula 734 album here, the Educate Youth, the videos that they created that I supported them in doing. But there's a meeting every Monday morning at 10 a.m. at Park Ridge Community Center. Well, right now it's on Zoom. And if you could sit in that meeting and hear all of the different things that are going on where people are attempting to provide services to those who are most in need, it warms your heart, but you still know that it's only a drop in the bucket.
It is.
So, and that's along all lines. That's not just a racial thing. That's across the spectrum. So being able to jump in and be willing to be a part of that, that conversation about putting that puzzle piece in is something that is extremely important. And I'm proud that this is going to help do that.
Yeah.
Along with like music history and pedagogy, right?
Absolutely.
Music really documents the feeling of the times.
Absolutely.
That you're in. And I want to make sure that the struggle of 2020 is documented in that
Absolutely.
way. The struggle and the fed upness and the kind of fire that's coming out of the community right now. I want to make sure that we capture. Did we want to talk about the compilation?
Yeah. So the hope is to, in addition to the projects that they will create, we'll be asking them to donate one of those songs to a compilation of Grove artists.
Yeah.
We want to utilize the some of the music from the three of them, from the three fellows, but also maybe go out to the rest of the Grove Studios community to say, hey, would you be willing to donate a song to a compilation that we can sell to the community at large and have that money go back towards community organizations?
Yeah.
So having a Grove Leon kind of compilation, with, and it's beyond just having a performance of it or anything like that, really making it something that can become a legacy item that happens from year to year to year to year, and having that money go back to support those community orgs or specific ventures that's meant to improve the community or just leverage, engage the community. I think those things are important.
We've been talking about that for a while. I mean, I made a post about it on Instagram like a few months ago, talking about, just wanted to do a Grove Studios compilation and making it kind of like a yearly thing to capture, because we really believe in the scene right now. We really believe in so many of the artists that are a part of this
many
community,
talented people,
and we
in this
want
community
to provide the resources to be able to kind of have a snapshot of this period in time in this community, and make that an ongoing process going forward. So we're super excited to do that.
Absolutely.
So everybody out there listening, just get ready for that. We'll probably be taking submissions, at some point within the next 6 months or so.
And I'll add to that too, if you're listening right now or you're listening later, whenever you're listening, if you have some interest in helping or supporting this project, I would encourage you to reach out to info@grovestudios.space.
Yeah.
And we will channel your interest to the right parties, either with Leon Speakers or with Grove Studios and the work that Rod's doing. So again, that's info@grovestudios.space if you have interest in being a part of the project, supporting in any way. if you're interested in a monetary donation to support the
donation
artists,
spot on the website, right?
Yes.
there is a donation link on the website.
Yep,
Again, that's
Amplify
amplify-fellowship.com.
Right.
Yeah.
And I posted that in the chat. So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And if you are interested in listening to reflections from the last 4 months, from a musical standpoint, the group that I work with, the Dirty Old Men, they have an album that is currently on Bandcamp at dirtyoldmen.bandcamp.com. It's called 6 Feet. And of course, it's on Bandcamp currently, but it will also be released to streaming on September 30th.
Awesome.
I'm going to post that
That's exciting.
in the chat as well.
Yeah, and
So
that's
those that are
fire.
listening-
I mean, talk a little bit more about the Dirty Old Men project and what you guys have put together over the past few years.
So the Dirty Old Men are a group of producers from all over the world. We meet in a city once a year. We've met in D.C., we've met in Chicago, we've met in San Francisco, we've met in Detroit. Detroit is where we met last year, and every year we make an album. So this year we were scheduled to go someplace. I'm not supposed to say out loud. We were going to go to someplace because we have people that just kind of try to show up that aren't necessarily invited.
get
I mean,
on
we're
the
not
CD,
even that
man.
we're not famous or nothing, but we'll talk about it online. But this year we were supposed to go somewhere. So what we did was we built a new platform called Song Lab, which we're hoping to kind of make a little bit bigger in the coming months, where we just literally create all the music online. We invite a rapper or a couple of rappers. We got a producer there. We might have a sample to flip. The producer flips the sample.
Flip it.
They send me, I'll be the engineer. They send me the stems. The rappers write to it and record their verses. They send me their verses or whatever, and I mix it live. So we did that for 5 of the 7 songs that's on the album.
So you did all that mixing?
I did all the mixing.
Sounds great.
I did all the
Yeah, it
mixing.
does sound great.
And so, and some of it came out that was just about, we're all producers. We got rappers that's involved. We got singers. Plus, because I'm engaged with this network here at Grove, I have access to all kinds of different musicians. Tim Blackman is on it. Rick has been on.
Shout out Tim.
Was on the project before this one. We have DJs. We have all kinds of different stuff. So it really makes for a real nuanced experience. Dirty Old Men.
It's a great group of
dope.
guys too.
6 Feet.
And the music
Super
is
fun
just
group.
incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, it is just hip hop at its finest. I mean, that's all you can say.
Yeah.
And Rod's got some bars for show.
Yeah, he does.
I do me. I do what I do.
He's every time I hear your voice pop up in one of these songs, I'm always like, I know him.
Good.
And it's incredible stuff. It's powerful stuff, and I know there's serious topics being addressed there, and
Absolutely.
that's I like that you tackle that stuff in your work, and I think it's something that people need to listen to. The record is called 6 Feet. It's by the Dirty Old Men. I posted a link in the chat,
Yep.
but it is on Bandcamp, dirtyoldmen.bandcamp.com. So definitely check that out.
That the cover, and the reason that it's coming out on September 30th, customarily music comes out on that Friday.
Yeah.
So it should be coming out on 2nd. But when we recorded the album, I started doing research about African Americans during the pandemic of 1918. And I found a story about a place called Elaine, Arkansas, where there were a group of men that were planning a protest of unfair wages. They were sharecroppers, and a group of men found out about it. They shot into the church where they were, and the men shot back, and a man died who was trying to kill them. And federal troops were brought in, and there were 200 people who were murdered, 200 African-American people who were murdered. And still, they also tried and convicted and executed 12 African-American men, saying that they tried to cause an insurrection. So that happened on September 30th, 1919. So that's why it's coming out on September 30th, the 101st anniversary of what became known as the Elaine Massacre.
Yeah.
And it's an incident that you don't see it in the history books, right?
Nope.
Yeah.
And so bringing that out is important. We need to remember things like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and we appreciate that. And that's exactly this kind of stuff. That's the exact reason why we are doing the Amplify Fellowship, is to amplify, stories like that, and to amplify stories from these communities.
Absolutely.
And some people say, oh, keep the politics and keep this out of music. I think music is a vehicle for that stuff.
Absolutely.
And you can see examples all across the board. It's fine to have, fun dance music and lighthearted stuff too.
Absolutely.
But music has the power to address really serious topics in really powerful ways.
It is.
I know.
And just the album cover alone is really powerful and thought provoking with the story behind it that is a true historical incident
Absolutely.
that needs not to be forgotten.
I know. And like, it feels so dismissive when people say that, like, keep the politics out. And like, no, we're talking about like fundamental human rights. And
True.
Yeah.
And like one of the conversations that I've overheard recently were like, why are they talking about racism on football? Like, they should just be playing the game. And it's just like, so you'll listen, so you'll talk about it. So
because you're watching it. That's why they're talking about it.
Yeah. It needs to be addressed. That's why we're talking about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's definitely, a lot of people watching across the country that need to hear about it and need to learn about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because there's so many places where you just only see your same type of person, and that's why it's one of the reasons I appreciate coming from Ann Arbor, is because I grew up, in a community, and Ypsi as well, that just has a huge diversity,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we need to support each other, and address those human rights and the way we, even in the small ways that we're working towards. This is a fellowship for 3 people out of the gate, but we can imagine it including more people
Yeah,
out of the gate.
absolutely.
Oh yeah.
And it's also
Absolutely.
inclusive of the network of people that are going to be collaborating to help people out. And so
Absolutely.
there's all these, sort of break-offs and fringes that I see happening as a result,
Yeah.
and the relationships that get formed. So I'm excited.
The donations and the partnerships that we feel as though, sometimes to get something done, you have to start it.
Yeah, that's so good.
We've been really strong about that, Maya and I.
Yeah.
And we believe that, we really want to engage with the community to come through and make this an even bigger thing, whether it be more people being involved, whether it be more services or specific services involved.
Yeah.
So partnerships and donations and things of that nature, please let us know. Amplify-fellowship.com. You can donate. You can also contact us and let us know if it's something you're interested in.
Yeah. And yes, absolutely. If you're interested in the work that we're doing and want to contribute in some way, please reach out.
Definitely. So you can message us on any of the social media platforms as well, if you're interested.
Yeah. I also neglected to mention what makes our broadcast studio launch at Leon Speaker so special. And it's also timely and conversationally timely because we are in an election year and everybody register to vote and go out and vote. And we are putting people in power, so make sure that we put the right people in power.
Please.
Please.
So, Leon Speakers is actually partnering with Devin Gilfinian, who is doing a benefit concert on October 1st at 8 p.m., I believe. So keep an eye out for that.
Very cool.
He is partnering with the Equality Alliance. It's a nonprofit based in Tennessee, and it's helping kind of call attention to voter suppression and and having these conversations that we need to have.
Yeah.
They're also partnering with headcount.org. So they will be actively registering people to vote during this broadcast.
That's great.
We are simulcasting the event, and as an added bonus, we are interviewing Devin Gilfinian with our host Rob Reinhart from Acoustic Cafe and WDT.
Outstanding.
Yeah, and
Love it.
so we'll have some of our messaging coming through in the evening, sometime after 7, and then we will be simulcasting that at around 8 p.m.
Exciting. Yeah. When you guys have, any links or event type stuff to share, make sure that we get that. So we'll put that on blast too.
Yeah.
And support that effort. So, man, I thank you guys for doing this tonight. I know it was a little bit in a pinch, but I know you traveled to get here.
Appreciate it. We had one
So
more
is-
thing we wanted to talk about too.
Oh,
is,
yeah.
The pricing change.
Yeah, because
So let's go into
access is important, right?
Yeah.
And as we've been, this is our third year here in this location for Grove
Yeah.
Studios.
And thank you guys for coming for 3 years.
Yeah,
I mean-
it's amazing. like usually, these new business concepts, can fail in the first year or two.
Absolutely.
And so we're entering our third year, or entering our fourth year, as we pass our anniversary. And we looked at our pricing structure and we thought, it feels confusing because all the rooms are different prices, and there was a reason behind that. And now we've simplified it in a way that we think will please people, and we've also lowered pricing. So, for example, here in the podcast room, this is a $15 or $20 hour room. Pricing went down. Our DJ room is now $10 or $15 an hour, depending on the time of day.
Yeah.
Production room, 15 or 20, and the band rooms. The deluxe room is 20 or 25 because we've now expanded it by knocking down some walls.
Knock down them walls. Shout
And
out to Breck.
it's turning into a really remarkable space. We're making some pretty great lighting improvements and soundproofing improvements in there. And then our classic room is 15 or $20 an hour too. So it's a little simplified pricing, lower pricing, because one of our biggest goals has always been accessibility.
Yeah.
And we're still stocking everything with the best equipment that we can, and we're open 24/7, 365 days a year. So
Yeah, and we appreciate so much. We appreciate all of you artists out there that have been coming into Grove Studios,
No doubt.
and have been using our space during this time.
Mm-hmm.
And you literally have been keeping our lights on. Just like we appreciate everyone that helped us out in our crowdfunding campaign. A few months ago that helped keep the lights on. Those of you coming to Grove Studios right now are helping keep the lights on, and we really, really appreciate you guys. Without you guys and without our community, and even those that are just supporting us on social media and just sharing or commenting on posts, you guys are the ones that are helping put us in this position to be able to offer these type of values.
Yeah, I like to say
community.
it keeps the lights on for all of us. It allows us the opportunity to continue to serve and do what we love, which is provide this space. And we're artists ourselves. We're musicians ourselves. So we use this space too. And it's important to us. So thank you very much. Thank you, Kyla, for being here as always. And Kyla's in the background doing her thing, but we appreciate her so much. Maia Evans, thanks for coming.
Yeah, thank
Of
you so
Leon
much.
Speakers, Rod Wallace, Project Plug-In, and Grove Studios Educational Coordinator, and Max Price,
Yeah, it's good to be here.
Head of Social Media and Marketing.
Absolutely.
I'm Rick Coughlin, CEO and co-founder of Grove Studios. Amplify Fellowship, amplify-fellowship.com.
Yep.
It's in the comments.
And tomorrow
Share
we
with
have-
people who you think might be interested in being a part of the fellowship.
Yeah, and tomorrow we have Blooming Prejippy coming on.
I love Blooming
for,
Prejippy.
a single drop.
Two of the
And we're
most
gonna be
positive
talking to
people I
them.
know.
It's going to be super exciting. So tune in for
Yeah,
that. That's
7
gonna be at
o'clock.
7 p.m. tomorrow.
Yeah, 7 p.m. tomorrow. They're a riot, and they're doing amazing things. The DIY rock star.
Yeah.
Rock stars, and they are true rock stars.
Yeah.
We'll see you guys